You want me to love you, but you don't love me now. Why should I give my heart to you? We gonna shut that motor down. I've been searching for you for a long time now, but you've left my heart's vision. Now you want me to stay in your life. That won't happen again. No, you said no. I said no. Can't blame you. No. I like that book. I'm not. It's not. It's a video.
Okay, it's being exciting. Hi.
Say I am Lila.
Say your name is Lila.
Your name ain't Daddy. My name is Daddy.
What's your name?
Just rock with your boy. I like that book. It's up on you now. My name is Charlie Crawford, and this is Charlie Crawford from the Heart. Let me talk to you. I read one of my favorite authors just then. His name is John Hart, and the book is called The Unwilling. The book is a crime thriller, right? A psychological thriller, sort of. And it's absolutely one of my favorites. I have read pretty much every single book by John Hart except for Downriver. I just can't remember, but I will read it again if I did. But I've been a fan of this man since The Last Child. It was kind of like this book. It was incredibly raw, and there was a lot that needed to be discovered about that person's character and about the dark sides of humanity. And again, all of his books, why I really like them, is 3 letters: raw. They're so raw. It's stuff that, like, for example, in church growing up, pastors would hardly speak about Revelations, right? The book of Revelations. At the end of the book, everybody was afraid of Revelations. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but nobody wanted to touch on it. It was too raw. It was talking about the end times. It was talking about heaven and hell, and what the, basically what the apocalypse is going to be like and stuff like that. But John Hart, if he was a pastor, he would have been talking about Revelations quite often. I absolutely love that about John Hart, and how he's very, very clever with his writing, and as far as his characters. His characters are his best part, and that's saying a lot, because his plot ideas and his execution is just bar none my favorite, one of my favorites. But if I can enunciate my words and articulate it the way that I want to, I don't even think that it would be doing it justice per se. But the thing that I absolutely love about John Hart is the way that he's able to take characters, specifically siblings, you know what I mean? He'll take a relationship of siblings and he'll discover it down to, you know what I mean, the crumbs. He'll take siblings and he'll take their relationship, whether it's sibling rivalry, whether it's that closeness, whether it's the twin bond, and he'll discover it all the way down to the T, to where you pretty much are one with these characters, and you're crying over these characters, or whatever, however you want to say it. But he's absolutely incredible when it comes to siblings, and he can write about a family as deep as anybody that I've seen. I've seen someone describe him as a literary thriller writer. That says a lot. That means that his writing, his vocabulary, his syntax, his language is up to par. It's stuff that you're going to be able to follow along with, and it's going to be able to, I didn't take so many quotes down because I was so into this book. Not old school, but, I can see that he derives a lot from classics, the Hemingways of the writing, right? The sort of poetic writing skill to it. He has that. He's always had that. And on top of that, he's pulling you along every single chapter. He's just a master at this thriller craft. And he's my favorite. He's only be that going the happiest. Gibby's older brothers have already been to war. One died there. The other came back misunderstood and hard. A decorated killer now freshly released from a 3-year stint in prison. Jason won't speak of the war or of his time behind bars, but he wants a relationship with the younger brother he hasn't known for years. Determined to make that connection, he coaxes Gibby into a day at the lake. Long hours of sunshine and whiskey and older women. But the day turns ugly when the four encounter a prison transfer bus on a stretch on empty road. Beautiful but drunk, one of the women taunts the prisoners, leading to a riot on the bus. The woman finds it funny in the moment, but is savagely murdered soon after. Given his violent history, suspicion turns first to Jason, but when the second woman is kidnapped, the police suspect Gibby too. Determined to prove Jason innocent, Gibby must avoid the cops and dive deep into his brother's hidden life. A dark world of heroin, guns, and outlaw motorcycle gangs. What he discovers there is a truth more disturbing than he could have imagined. Not just the identity of the killer and the reasons for Tyra's murder, but the forces that shaped his brother in Vietnam, the reason he was framed, and why the most dangerous man alive wants him back in prison. He's so good at beginnings. You know, he gets you heavily invested into the main characters, and then he spring on the plot points smoothly and dramatically. If you like stories where there's a deep discovery and examination between the rich and complex relationship between a big brother and a little brother, or a brother and a sister, whatever, John Hart is your man, hands down. You know, his story is just so inclusive that you don't even feel the sudden pull, you know what I mean, you know, by the shoulders, that he's just pulling you through the story, you know, and until you get to the end, you realize, like, wow, like I was just, you know, it was like a dream, you know. And he's able to slow it down and speed it up to his wishes to succeed at the sort of emotions that he wants us to feel. And you're gonna go up or you're gonna go down this story. You know, he's pretty much unmatched when it comes to creating tension from all sides and using that to slingshot into a fantastic story. You know, he takes what shouldn't be a big deal, right? What most authors will probably bring up and then immediately solve. He makes it a big deal and makes it a plot point and makes it to where the stakes increase just off of just a small thing. And what that do is that's an element of surprise where it's a niche of his own, and where fantastic authors would probably find the dwelling. And so it's incredibly skillful that he's able to do that. You know, he sinks you into a story's problem, shows you all the ways things can get fucked, and he sinks you into the worst of them, and then he goes from there. Who wouldn't want to read a thriller like that?
Really? Say really, Daddy?
You know, and I keep harping on his writing because I just been with him for a long time, and he's pretty good at inserting dramatic irony. I don't know if he do it on purpose, but it seemed like an inside joke a lot of times, right? Where I chuckle. You know, I go to the back page and I look at his picture, like, hey, you got me there. But specifically, if you read this book, it's on page 74 that I'm talking about. You'll know when you see it, like, I see what you did there. And it's dramatic irony, at least foreshadowing at the least. You know, I can appreciate how he can take a serious topic, right, like crime and murder, and the breaking up of a family, even war, right? And he can insert lighthearted moments, right, where for us it's kind of a breath of relief, because a book like this is so dark, so deep. It's a relief from the heaviness and probably a technique of pacing. And it's funny, man, because, like, I don't know who said this. You know, sometimes I scroll down YouTube, see what I like, and click on it and listen to it. But one of the thumbnails was saying, you know, the more you read, the more sad you get, or the less happy you get. And I was thinking, like, okay, before I even click on this, I didn't watch it. But I figure what they're going to be getting at is, the more you know, the more you realize how effed up everything is, right? How unfair everything, how sad everything can be. Seriously. And so John Hart pretty much takes that sort of mindset, and he passes on the back and say, hey, cheer up. You know, it can get better. This is how life is, but it can be better. And so I rock with John Hart heavily. You know, it's been a satisfying and raw read of war, and of impatience, and of and just fear of losing an a child that you think is not caught up in the world just yet. There's girlfriends in this story. Again, I talked about fear of jumping and all of these different things. Friendship. And again, I go back to that word raw because, it's right there in your face. It is what you see is what you get with John Hart. And I'm gonna read something, and it's sort of in his letter at the end of the novel, where he was kind of not explaining himself, but just acknowledging how his readers see him, right? And so he says, people often mistake my intent, believing I write dark when that's not entirely true. Instead, I write about the search for light in dark places. That means building rich, flawed characters and then turning up the heat and then seeing which choices they'll make as the softness around them cooks away. And I love that about his writing, and how he dives deep into humanity, and it's not just a story. It's not just a action or a simple thriller and things like that. He dives deep into characters, and I absolutely love that about thrillers, if they can do that in suspense novels. There was a handful of characters, and I don't know how John Hart do it, but there's a handful of characters in this story. There isn't character soup. It isn't too many, but there's a lot. There's a handful of them, and you can count up to 10, and it seems like every single one of them. Stop playing with me, John Hart. How do you do this? It seems like every single one of them is rich. They're rich. Did you go to Starbucks? Did you pull out that sheet where you figure out what your main characters, or what a certain character's favorite type of lava lamp is? Huh? Do you know what their second grade teacher's back was shaped like? Huh? Did you figure that out? You are a brilliant man. That is awesome. And so what that do is it brings you into a world where characters are breathing. They're moving around. They have opinions. Their personalities are unique. All of these different things, man. John Hart brings to the table with his characters. His protagonist Gibby is a young man. He's at home with, I won't say strict parents, but one of their sons died in the war. The other one came back, kind of rough, kind of a menace to society. Everyone see it, right? You know what I mean? He's that kind of child where it's like, no, not him. That's not gonna happen to him. Let's keep a watchful eye out for him, and let's keep him undercover and things like that. So the mom was very strict. The dad, he has a point of view as well. He's a police officer, and so boom, that what it is like. We see all the movies and books where cops are parents. Anyway, and so Gibby is kind of sheltered, but he has a life that he want to live, and especially when Jason comes back into town. He want to spend time with Jason as well as Jason want to spend time with Gibby. But right away, like I say, they go to this this day of fun. They go out to the lake, and then they driving on this stretch of road, and one of the young women who was just insane. She was just doing too much. Drunk as hell, was mocking these prisoners, and like I say, she ended up murdered, tortured, all this other stuff. And Jason is pretty much caught up in the raps, and the police wants him, and Gibby has to make a choice whether it's his brother or it's going back to his life. But he knows the truth. He knows the truth, or he thinks he knows the truth. But the moral of the story is, no matter what's going on in your life, there's going to be things that come up where you have no say in it whatsoever. One of the things that this book touched on was the My Lai or the My Lai massacre. It was a sort of a low point, and one of the disgusting acts, at least on our part, the U.S., where they massacred 504, I believe, innocent souls. And this is true. It's sort of a backdrop of our character, Jason. At one point, Gibby was speaking to someone who experienced, that event, and the man was just explaining, you would have to be there. Let me read this to you. But you got to be there, you dig? You got to be in the shit to understand the shit, And it just remind me that, that sort of veteran saying that kind of echoes the sentiment of, you can't explain what it's like to be an eagle to a centipede. A centipede will never. That eagle can stand there, sit there on its nest, and explain until he's blue in the face, and then he's dead. What it's like to be an eagle, right? That centipede will never. You have to be in the thick of it. You got to be in the sky, right? You have to be an eagle to understand what it's like to be an eagle. And so, I say that to say that the character of Jason, and even John Hart said this, is one of his absolute favorite that he's written. And take it from your boy. He's speaking truth. He's speaking truth, and that's saying a lot, because his characters, man, specifically Johnny Merriman and Michael from his book The Iron House, are two of the the deepest and most richly written characters, I believe, as well. And so it's hard to top them. But Jason, man, it was incredible. He's going to be pretty much your favorite character. He's going to be pretty much everybody's favorite character. And he was a man's man. He sacrificed a lot for us, obviously going to war, and then keeping his mouth shut because he was just misunderstood. And then the villain, man, like what happened in this story with the villain, man, it was freaky, it was scary, it was creepy. You know what I mean? These villains or whatever. But you kind of get a treat where it was like villain on villain, and what he does with the twists and everything like that, and who end up going at whose neck or whatever. Just a satisfying book all the way through. Yeah. What you gotta say to the people?
Oh, this is beautiful. And so thoughtful. Winding up in the nursery. Seriously.
Okay, fair enough.
I already know you're
Let me hear you say.
big sister.
Let me hear you say.
Sing.
No, let me hear you say. You still here?
You still here?
Just brief takeaways. They ain't gonna be long. Brief takeaways is one of the characters, Sarah, was mentioning that her roommate Tyra is just inconsiderate, right? I did a video called Silka's Journey, and in it I said that doing for others is pretty much the only way of getting what we all want, being peace. And so being inconsiderate, right? Only looking out for yourself. Let's put an end to that, man. Like it's so important to look out for each other, right? Take time to take a step back, lose time, right? If you're driving and you see somebody trying to get in, just that small thing, being considerate, backing up, letting them in, can save you from the most extreme, right? You cutting them off, not cutting them off, but you going out, letting them in, they come back, shoot you in your head. That ain't no peace, but it can happen, Taking time to go out of our way, at the same time doing for others and making it better, is doing just that, being achieving world peace in a sense, if we can all do for others. The book talks about small decisions and wrong steps going the wrong way, and how they can snowball into these colossal consequences and problems in our lives. Let's be careful. Let's be very, very careful with the small decisions. You hear the story, the journey of 1,000 miles start with the first step, or whatever the Chinese verb is. Pray for your boy. And so it's the same thing with small decisions. You know what I mean? You going the wrong way, it can lead on to the problem. Like if you guys took algebra in class or in grade school, you know how you make one mistake, and then from there you trying to solve X. From that one mistake, it's just snowballing, because everything after that is going to be wrong, and you getting multiple points off. And so the small decisions that we make in life, we got to be very, very careful of that. It's not just the big ones, right? The things that you go and talk to people and get advice from. The very, very small decisions, let's focus on those as well. But anyway, but faith was for rookies and civilians. French knew too much about bad cops, bias, sloppy work. There's a guy in here named Reese, man. This guy was this guy was brutal with it, man. Like just tough. I won't say too much about Reese. You guys will learn about Reese but he's scary as hell. And one thing that I want to say was, sometimes the villain can panic too. You know what I mean? Sometimes the villain might not be as big and bad as even the prey may think it is, right? Everybody has vulnerabilities, right? What am I saying? What I'm saying is, sometimes it's just the will to fight. when you know that the person, right, a predator or whatever, has weaknesses, and that they can panic, and that they're on shaky ground, again, at that point it's literally up to fight. You know that you guys on the even playing field at that point, at least in your head. So again, even predators can panic, you know, and not be as good as prey may think. So again, it's all about your will to fight. Lastly, I want to talk about and give advice to echo what Jason said to Gibby. Because it's cool, it's not a reason enough for you to do something risky, right? It's not a good enough reason for you to jump, right? To go and do something that society says you should do, or your peers say you should do, just because it's cool. You have to have something that runs deeper, right? And I'm not talking about small things, I'm talking about the big things. I mean, you guys probably saw this coming, but I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely amazing book. Absolutely amazing crime thriller from both the protagonist and the family's point of view and friends, and also the villain's point of view. It gave you everything that you absolutely wanted in a crime thriller. It hit all of the points, and it hit it with a damn, you know, jackhammer. You know what I mean? He nails it into the ground with this novel. And just absolutely one of my favorite authors, and now one of my favorite crime thrillers as far as this novel goes. And so, hope you guys enjoyed The Unwilling. Hope you enjoyed this super short review. You know, I'm gonna keep it short this time because pretty much I gotta run. And so, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm that way. And so, peace. Charleroi is out. And now it's time to say goodbye. Won't you please come back and say hi?